Hello my friends, welcome back to part 2. Let me show you how we're getting on with part 1. Lovely scene. It's coming along nicely. Right, so I'm just going to zoom in here and I'm going to show you properly what I've done, okay? Some nice pink trees off in the distance, aren't they lovely? Nice autumny colours. I put a suggestion of some little buildings and stuff like that off in the distance. It's just a little farm. Worked with nice greens, and we put in these lovely little trees. Aren't they wonderful? Okay, nice and simple. Next we're going to work on this lovely bridge and see how we go from there. Okay, so let me turn this around. There we are. Now let's crack on and have a bit of fun with the bridge. Don't go anywhere. Okay, the bridge. Let's go and have some fun with this. I'm going to start just blocking in the colour, okay? I'm going to just find a brush now for this. Okay, I'll go for this nice little flat brush, a number 4 flat brush. And I think I'm going to start with just sort of that middle kind of colour. See that pinky kind of a grey colour? And it should be easy enough to get this colour. I'm thinking crimson, little black, and some brown, because I can see a hint of brown, so burnt umber, a hint of that colour as well. Now into this then, to brighten that, I'm not going to use white because white might make it too bright. I think Naples yellow might just be enough to soften this just to a nice bright kind of a colour. Let me just check. Yeah, that's not bad. I could use this as a base colour, we'll say, and then I can work on top of that. Do you understand? So let's take some more brown, a little bit more crimson, a little bit more Naples yellow. And I like to use Naples yellow for almost everything because it's such a fantastic colour to mix in and make colours nice and sort of chalky, almost like a pastel. Now I'm going to go along the top of this, like that, cut in front of those trees. And that automatically then sits the trees down behind the bridge. Okay, so I'm just going to go around everything like this. There will be a little bit of detail in the bridge, so I'm going to take my time with this bridge. I don't very often put a lot of detail into bridges and things like that, but I really do want to in this tutorial because I think it's just a lovely scene. So I'm going to go across now, and it sort of cuts out and comes down, doesn't it? So I'm just getting a nice thin layer for my bridge, and I can work on all of that then. This archway over here is quite small, isn't it? I don't want to go over too big with this archway. I just want to keep it nice and small. Fill all that in. Now I might even go a little bit further out with this. Okay, just like that. We have some stones along the bottom, but I'm just going to fill those in as well with this colour. And in a moment then we're going to use the small round brush to put in lots of impressions of stonework and all that kind of thing, okay? Come along like this. I'm going to make this one slightly lower. That needs to be a little lower, okay? So I'm not going to go as high with that. In reality, I probably should have kept them all exactly the same size, but you know, I want to try and stay true to the reference photograph because there is one big arch just in the middle. It's an unusual kind of a bridge in that there's one big arch and 2 small ones. Normally they would be kind of more or less similar in size, but it's a lovely bridge. Beautiful bridge. Now a little bit of black, a little bit of Naples yellow, and a little touch of magenta. Let's try a touch of magenta just to warm that up a little bit. So I'm going now for kind of a browny grey, pinky kind of a grey colour. Okay, see that? And stretch the arch right over. That gives you some perspective. And leave it taper off like this. So then we have the base colour for the bridge. Now, a lot of people would leave a bridge like this, but let's add a little detail into the bridge, a little bit of colour. I'm going to put in that piece at the back as well. I'm going to soften it, make it lighter, so that it pushes itself back a little bit into the distance. So I'm going to use very similar colours. A little touch of magenta there. I'll take a little Naples yellow in that, and that'll soften that colour right back then into the distance. I'll take more Naples yellow. We can work on that then later on, okay? But just concentrating on this bridge for now. I'm going to take a round brush. I must find my nice, I have my little small round brush here, and I have a kind of a medium round brush as well. This is a number three round. I'm going to use this first, and what I'm going to do is start putting in some of the light. So when I catch some light, I can see there's a bit of a darkness here on this side. You see that? So let's make a nice dark colour for that. It's a mauve, okay, a lovely mauve. Let's get some crimson with some phthalo blue. And I'll take a little white. A bit of thinners in this as well, okay? That will really help it flow and move around. I don't want to go too kind of warm with this. So a little touch of black just to help with the shadow of this. And it's simply a case of going along like this and putting little dabs with your brush like this on its side, okay? You can see that? Small little dabs. That's just to give you the impression of stonework, all right? And then it sort of turns. I'm going to take a hint of burnt umber in this. Just a hint. It turns and kind of comes up then, you see? I'm going to just soften this out for now. And I'm hardly putting even any paint on this, but you'll see it from a distance, okay? So you can already see now it's starting to darken there slightly, isn't it? I'm then going to just start adding a little black and a little magenta into this, okay? I'm going to start going darker, little darker. Just from where it turns, you can see there's a bit of a turn on the bridge there, you see? And then it's going to start turning and coming over in this direction. So now you could even go darker again. I'm going to take some burnt umber with the black, and I'm going to pop some burnt umber in there. That will really darken it down, especially as it comes down towards the bottom. And just leave those kind of taper off and almost sort of disappear, okay? So we already have a little impression of some stonework on the bridge. Isn't that lovely? Coming across now, I'm going to start adding some nice richer colours. I'm going to get some crimson. A little bit of crimson. I might go for a little cadmium red as well, actually. Mixing all that into the sort of purple. So we have a nice kind of a plum colour here now, okay? Nice plum. Then take a little hint of sienna, just to warm it, to make it more of a brown. Nice rich brown. I'm going to start over here and start putting in a little suggestion of those little bricks, okay? Little stones. A touch of thinners just to thin that out, and I might go with more crimson as well. And it's only just a very loose representation of the stonework on the bridge, okay? And a little round brush like this is perfect. Now, follow. In fact, let's take a hint of burnt sienna in this. That will really warm it up, won't it? You see, what I need to do with this is follow the direction of the bridge. So instead of going straight across like this, I'm going to bring the brick sort of up like this, just to give it a slight angle on the bridge, to follow the curvature of the bridge around, okay? Just get that back up there. So I'll just keep going with this. It's just kind of, I suppose, a hit and miss sort of technique, okay? That's all it is. Hit and miss. Some big ones, some small ones. Now, I do need to plug in my reference photograph on the phone up here in front of me, okay? So just give me a moment. Okay, we're back on track. The phone was starting to die on me here, so I had to plug it in real quick. Okay, so I am going to take more cadmium red. I'm going to go with some Naples yellow as well. And I want to just really give this a nice bright pink colour. And I do need some Naples yellow on my palette. It's running low. So let me get some Naples yellow. It's just a case of going along the bridge and putting in highlights and lowlights. So lights and darks across this bridge, okay? So with a little bit more Naples yellow, there we are, that's a bit better. I'm going to pop in some highlights. And it's just, again, very, very random, all right? It's just a little bit here, a little bit there. I'll take some white into that, get some brighter shades. Oh, the brush fell out of my hand. And once we've done, then you see we can put in some fine details with the pointy brush. Now as it goes off, I'm not going to try and put in every single little brick as it goes off into the distance. It's more of sort of letting it sort of dissipate outwards. But just barely touching it. See how I'm just barely touching the canvas? It's just very, very gently rubbing off on the canvas, just a little. I'm not putting in very solid brush strokes at all, okay? Now, I want to catch some light over in this corner over here. So I'm just going to put suggestion of the brightness of the bridge, kind of catching the sunlight. Do you understand what I mean? So it comes up like that, and then it goes off over at an angle like this. You see? And pop another little bit just here and there. I'm kind of focusing on cool greys and warm greys for this bridge. Do you understand? So I don't want to make it too warm and too fussy. Let me just take some of that colour and put some of that light colour over here, just to suggest and to show that this is the opposite side of the bridge. Okay? That's all I want to do. Just a suggestion. A bit more Naples yellow. Naples yellow and crimson and white would be the primary colours in this bridge, okay? Especially Naples yellow, because it gives you that wonderful creamy kind of colour, okay? Lovely and creamy. Now, I'll stop at that for a moment. I'm going to start putting in some darks up along the top. So I'm going to take some black and I'm going to go into this mix here. So a little black and a little cadmium red. And I'm going to start getting some of those darker shades of grey. So this again is a kind of a warm grey. I'm going with that right along the top. And I'm allowing that then to sort of disappear down into the colour underneath, okay? I don't want to go for just a single solid line, do you understand? So this would now be a nice cool kind of a grey. Did I say warm or cool? This is more of a cool grey here, just for the shadow area up here. Just to tone down the warms a little bit, okay? Now you can just bring a hint of some of those colours here and there as well on the bridge, because you will see the colours throughout, okay? Let me go over here with that colour. That's a nice colour now, I like that. That's a nice cool colour, isn't it? And I put some of those as well. Now I'm going to take some black with some burnt umber and suggest some of that darker colour over on this side over here, but it's going from the corner outwards, okay? And I'll take a little bit more of the burnt umber for over here. There's a very rich colour on this side as well. The only thing that separates these two is that very bright ridge cap. See that cap on the top of those? That's all really that separates these two bridges. If that wasn't there, you would think it was one solid piece. So you need to have that barrier between the two. Okay, you need to have something like that just to separate the two. Now I'm going with a very dark colour, black and some brown over here. And I'll do the same with that dark colour just around here somewhere, look. As it's kind of coming into the bushes, you'll get lots of kind of dark colours, and where it's all just dark and kind of rough from the overgrowth. So a little bit of darkness just in there. I'll take some sienna as well, pop a little bit of sienna in there. And I put a little bit down just in the corners where they kind of meet in the centre here. And a little bit over here, just to suggest discolouring from the water, etc. And I'm going to put some of that colour over here as well. Okay, so now we have this kind of nice transition going across the bridge, don't we? Okay. I will start, I want to catch a little bit of light around this area here. Just want to show some light hitting that. Little Naples yellow, some white, and a little touch of crimson perhaps. It's a light colour, perhaps a hint of this grey here. So just going for a kind of a light, it's a warm grey but a light grey. Do you understand what I mean? And you just pop that, just let your brush tap, 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 here and there. So you can just kind of lighten certain areas and let that sort of disappear outwards then, you see? Like that. A bit of Naples yellow. Now this may seem like a lot of detail, but in reality it's really not that much detail at all. It's just little dabs with the brush. That's all I'm doing. Okay? Do try it. It's just little tiny marks with the brush. And you can simplify it if you like. You don't have to go to all this trouble. You can just simplify it if you like. It's completely up to you. Okay. Now, I think I'm happy enough with that. You can kind of soften this across with your blender brush if you wanted to. If you didn't like the real solid lines, that kind of thing, you could soften it out just a little. Do you understand? just, you know, just a tiny, tiny touch if you want. It's up to yourself, you don't really have to. Then I'm going to go and do this lovely bright spot here. And I'm just going to take some Naples yellow. I'll take a little magenta and lots of white. It's almost white, but it's a very, very light, kind of a yellowy pinky colour. So I'm just going to put it in nice and solid here. Okay, and then it's going to get thinner and thinner as it comes up. All right. Now I'm going to switch to my small brush for this. I think that might give me a little more control. Would you agree? Take a little bit more of the white in there and let's sharpen this up just a little. Now, nice steady hand for this. Okay, and we'll keep going with that right along the top. And this will separate the tree from the bridge nicely. Okay, just like that. Now I want to sharpen up this here, okay, just a bit. I'll do the same on the far side over here. There we go. Now the next job I'm going to do is put a little dark line just underneath some of that. Now there's a bit of a face on the top of that. You see that cap, that big cap up there? There's a nice face on one side of that. So I'm just going to go with a slightly darker colour. Like this, okay? Now we can sharpen up all these lines again, don't worry. If you feel that they're sort of disappearing, you can go back over them again, so not to worry. And I'm going to put a nice dark line then underneath this. Okay, a nice dark colour, a bit of black, a bit of brown, and let's go like that, okay? Just keep going until you're happy. This is coming out quite nice, isn't it? Okay, and on the back side of the bridge then over here, we'll do the same, just a little dark. Just to separate the top cap from the bridge itself. Just a little, you see? Just a little, that's all. So now, we have a nice little bridge there, don't we? So I'm going to now put in little arches on this. I'll go back to my medium round brush and I'm going to get a nice soft colour for those. So again, I'm going to try magenta, a little of this browny black colour here. Bit of white, bit of Naples yellow. That's a nice soft grey, I think. We'll try that. And let's just put in the arches. I'll thin the paint just slightly, just to make it go a bit further. Putting in the arches, we have a little point coming up like this, don't we? Okay. We move to the other arch over here. Much, much smaller arch, isn't it? It really is very small. And you don't have to really be exact with this, okay? This is just a very, you know, it's an impression of the scene. I don't want to be completely photographic with all of this. I just want to create this lovely scene from the Angler's Rest in Cork. And so many people drive past this bridge, they drive over this bridge on a daily basis, and they never stop to take a photograph. It's just gorgeous. It really is. I'm going to make this one much thicker, okay? And that will help with perspective as well for the rest of the bridge. Okay, like that. And you can see I'm really only using little amounts of paint, okay, and I'm just scraping it around on the canvas. I don't want to put too much paint on too soon, you see. All right, just want to take it nice and easy, take my time, there's no rush. Now bring that around. It's a lovely little corner there of stone. This is all stone in here as well, and we have another light bank of stone over here. Like that, if you just suggest that, like there. And I start darkening then these stones slightly. I'm going to take some sienna, some crimson, maybe some black, okay, tiny touch of black. And I'm going to go along and just kind of pop in one or two here and there. I'm following the curvature of this stone piece here then, okay, you see? It's going around, all the way around. Do the same, this one here. And it's just an impression, that's all, okay? Don't really have to go crazy with this. Now I'm going to get some lighter colour. I'll take some white with a touch of black. And I'm going to just put slightly lighter grey, kind of a cooler grey, here and there, on one side. So it's just to suggest sort of the light catching on one side of these. Then we have a little piece here with lots of stones, don't we? I'll take a touch of cobalt, just to make that slightly bluey, and pop some stonework in just down there and just down here. All right. Now, let's sit back and take a look. Okay, we're getting there. We're getting there. I am going to warm some parts of these. I think they're probably a little brash, or they're kind of maybe sticking out a bit too much. So let's just darken some of them. And again, I will be getting my small detail brush in a moment and putting in much more detail on these. Some blue, little crimson, and I'm going to just pop some small details in here and there on those bottom, they're plinths, is that what they're called? Okay, just a little, just for now. Right, small detail brush. Going to get some black, lots of black. I'm going to take a hint of the green. So I'm going now for a very blacky green. Okay, and I'm just going to start putting in some details, just here and there. So suggesting some of these little top stones over here. Just to show a little touch of detail, do you know what I mean? See, just here and there. Get some black, put in a hint of black around some of these, just on one side, just to accentuate a little touch of shadow on some of them. And you could even put in a suggestion of one or two little cracks between the bricks as well. Again, just to add a little detail to it, that's all. All right. Now, I'm going to also add a couple of small cracks on the bridge itself. I'm going to do a few dark ones and then a few light ones, okay? Because I can see the mortar between the bricks is a kind of a light colour. So I'm just going to put in a few darks first, just a couple. Again, it's just to fill it, make your mind fill in these blanks. You see, you can just see little tiny cracks here and there. Then we'll go with a slightly lighter colour. Let's take some white and some Naples yellow. Lots of thinners. And we'll go in there then with some of this. Here and there as well. This is a very old bridge, so you're not going to see absolutely perfectly straight lines. Okay, bear that in mind. Any old bridge, you're better off to keep it slightly wiggly and wobbly, and it'll just translate much nicer on the finished painting. Put a couple up around there. Maybe one or two in the darks, especially over here. Then I'm going to pop a little green in. I can see lovely touches of green in here and there. A little touch of green here and there, just to suggest some, you know, some leaves, all that kind of thing. And it just roughens up the surface a little bit as well. See what I mean? Just gives it a little something. Just to make it age that little bit better, I suppose. Some little dabs of it just here and there on the stones themselves, and this all really helps. It just helps the character of the build of the bridge, I suppose. It just, you know, help you kind of, lovely green bush over here as well. And that can help the bridge then disappear down into the land over on this side. And popping some nice bright green in over there as well. You see, it's just a case of going along with your brush, couple of dab, 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 dab. Right, just like that. Next, I'm going to put in those lovely dark arches. Yes, I'll take some black and some burnt umber, and I think I'll start with that just on this big one over here, okay? This is very dark in here, isn't it? I'll get some more burnt umber in this, and I'll start at the top of this one with that, okay, up here. Then as it comes down, it's going to start lightening. So I won't go any further than that. Then I can start adding colour to it. But this one, I'll just fill this one in. I'll get a slightly bigger brush just for this archway here, okay? Now, let me just get this in much faster. Then I'll go with some brown. I'm going to start putting some mauves in here as well. So I'm going to go with cobalt blue, some magenta, a little white, okay? So I want to start getting some nice mauves in here, you see? So it's not just black all the way down. It does start lightening. Gets lighter and lighter as it comes down. Now, you can then just use your brush on its side and go like this, okay? Now I'm going at this angle because that's the direction of the brick underneath, you see? It's going sideways like this. So I'm just going to go like that all the way along. So that then helps with the perspective as well. Does that make sense? Okay, we get some nice black and a hint of phaylo blue. I'm going to go up here and pop some of that in. I'm also going to give this some kind of a highlighted shadow as well, if you understand what I mean. So what I mean by that is, I'm going to take some phaylo blue and some white. So a highlighted shadow. It's like a vibrant shadow. It's not black. Do you understand? A lot of people would assume that shadows like this would be very black. But I'm going to add a little bit of brightness. You see that? Just a little bit of a warm blue into it underneath, just here and there. Take a bit of magenta in that. Make it slightly warmer. And I'm going at that angle then, you see? And I'm going to soften it up into that black. Now, You sit back and take a look at that. I don't know now if that translates on your screen. I don't know if you can see it. I'm going to go over a slightly lighter colour, Naples yellow and magenta. And I'm going to start putting some of this colour in. So it's mixing them with the colours already there, you see. A little bit of that. It disappears under as it gets darker and darker as it goes away from you. Okay? There's just a little bit of it here and there. I'm going to pop it in and let it just sort of fizzle out and disappear as it comes up. Alright, like so. Now you can put a couple of hints of burnt umber, and we'll put 1 or 2 across in front of this as well. That'll be slightly darker as it comes down. I'll take some of that shadowy colour, put some of that here and there on this pillar as well. So we're now going to do the same with this one over here. And this one now is much lighter, isn't it? I can see a beautiful, gorgeous kind of a pinky colour on that side over there. So just some magenta with a little Naples yellow. Now I'll just use this colour for now, okay? And we can lighten it more if we need to. I'll also be darkening it, so not to worry. Now let's take some of the brown. See, I'm pulling all sorts of colours on my brush. Browns, greys. And then I'm going to go in that direction again and soften this upwards into the black. And then I'm putting the black down into that, you see. And that's creating these wonderful little colours. Different shades. Okay. There we go. I'm going to start warming it a little because it's still a little cold for me. I'm going to start taking magenta, a little sienna, and I'm just going to start popping a little of that warm colour through it here and there. Alright? And the same in this one. Just a little warmth, that's all. Just to warm it slightly. With this one, I'm going to start darkening that now a good bit. I'm going to take some burnt umber and some black, and I'm going to really start darkening this up here and coming down sort of into the corner a bit down here. You see that? Then I go darker again. Get more burnt umber. And the really nice thing about all of this is that it's mixing with all the colours already there, so it makes lots of different shades. It's really, really wonderful. Then I'm going to get just black on its own. And I really now want to accentuate the darkness up on the top of this arch, okay, coming down. So you see, like this. Just on the side, tapping as you go, bringing it down like that. Now, moving on to the next one on the other side. And this is basically, in principle, the very same. So I go with a nice dark colour up here. And I can see then as it comes down, it's actually casting a lovely shadow coming down like this, you see it? So I'll go with that, and then I'm going to take some of this lovely pinky colour, put in some of this pinky colour, and bring that across here as well. And what I'm going to do then, where they meet, I'm just going to soften them together like this, okay? Now I'm just using very small, tiny brush strokes really. Okay, now that's not bad. I just want to add a little touch of greenery under those arches as well. So I'm just taking a little yellow, little green, blue, popping a little bit of green in there, just to suggest little touches of, could be anything, algae, whatever it is, just little bits here and there. Now the next thing I'm going to do with those arches is I want to soften them ever so slightly, okay? I just want to soften them the tiniest little bit. So get my soft blender brush, I'm just going to sort of pull them very gently together like that, okay? Very gently, and then I'm going to get my little detail brush and get lots of black, lovely thin watery black. I'm just going to start refining some of these. Just start adding little touches of detail. It's only really a suggestion, okay? You know, you don't have to be too particular with any of this. You see what I mean? Just a little tiny suggestion. There we go. I don't think we need to do anything on this one because this is really kind of hidden away in the darkness, isn't it? But I'll pop one or two in anyway. Then I come along to this one, I put a little detail in here, like that. Lastly, I'm going to take some black on its own, and I'm going to go up here and really put some very dark little touches of colour up under these arches. I really want to show the deepness of that dark colour up under there. You see, look, just like that, just the tiniest little touch. And you could add a little touch of purple in here as well if you wanted. That would really help actually with the shadow. Let's try it. Let's take some phthalo blue, some crimson, okay? Just like what I did earlier with the soft shadow, remember that? Phthalo blue, some crimson. And we could put this nice purple then up underneath here, you see, look? That will really help those shadows kind of come to life. So it's just not a kind of a black. Do you understand? Let's try it on this one. I think this will make a big difference. And it'll also add a little touch of colour to the bridge as well. So there. I think that's a little better. That's much better. Now I might add a little more light under those arches just where the sort of the sunlight is kind of popping through. It's really a lovely, lovely sunlight. So I'm just going to pop a little touch of Naples yellow here and there. Just to suggest the sun kind of catching them. Does that make sense? Now I'm probably going into a lot of detail with this, but this is something I really want to spend my time on. I really want to do a really nice tutorial of this bridge. I've been wanting to do it for a long time. Okay, just like that. And we could even go with more sunlight down here. And a little bit more in here as well. Perhaps even a little hint of one or two in here also. Okay. Now there's one last thing I'm going to do with this bridge, and I'm going to call this part 2 finished, okay? I'm going to take some yellow, some white, and a little touch of cadmium red. And I'm going to pop that bright sunlit colour also in there, okay? Maybe a touch more red as well. So you see it becomes like a nice orangey, sunlit orangey kind of, almost like the water reflecting off some of those little bricks in underneath. See what I mean? And just one or two here as well. Look, why not? Let's just pop a few in. Just to break up this darkness here, because it does seem a little dark, doesn't it? I might lighten it actually slightly. Do you know what? I think I will. I'm going to lighten this side slightly. Put a little warm purple in there. Just to brighten it a touch. Yes? I think it'll help. And there we are, my friends. I think that's part 1 finished. There is a little feature on this bridge. It's just in here. Not sure what it is, like a plaque or something like that. Just put a little plaque there, and we'll suggest one on here as well. Small little details, but I think they make a difference. Wouldn't you agree? Now, one more small thing I'm going to do before I finish part 2. Take a little black and just darken some of these, just to really help them stand out that little bit more, okay? I'll leave that one. I can see a little telegraph pole up there as well. Should I put it in or leave it out? I think I might leave it out just to be on the safe side. Perhaps just pop the impression of a sign or something along over here. Put a little bit of Naples yellow or something on it, just to suggest that it's something. Okay. And my friends, I leave it at that. I'm calling this part 1, or part 2, my apologies, finished. Little darkness just around this black here. There's a bit in there. Okay. Now, one thing I might do is darken some. So see, I'm kind of rambling on now. That's what's happening. I'll start darken some of this archway over here just a little. Maybe this one as well. So you kind of go off and you start adding little touches of colour. I don't want to spoil it. I really don't want to spoil this. So I might just leave it well alone. Isn't that right? Okay, now that will do. I'm going to call it finished. I'll tidy up these little plinths and all that kind of stuff as I'm going along as well. But not to worry. That's it, my friends. Part 2 is finished. Let me just unhook this for a moment. There we are, my apologies. And that's it. Our bridge is finished. You can see just little touches of light there and there. There we are. Part 3, my friends, is coming up very, very soon. I hope you enjoyed this. A nice in-depth tutorial for a change, something with a bit of detail, so you can just sit back and relax, have a look at the tutorial, have a cup of coffee, a cup of tea or something, and just enjoy the painting, okay? Let me know what you think. Thank you so much. I'll be right back with part 3 very, very shortly. Don't go anywhere. God bless.